Somewhere beyond the edge of our solar system, past the frozen grip of the Kuiper Belt and the lonely whispers of Voyager 2, something began moving toward us slowly. At first, like a shadow on the horizon, then accelerating. Observatories picked it up. Telescopes followed its trail. At first, the assumption was routine, just another interstellar object, a cousin to Oumuamua or Borisov, born in the chaos of another star system and flung into the dark. But from the very beginning, 3I Atlas refused to play by the rules. It didn't tumble. It didn't reflect light like dust-covered ice. Its trajectory defied gravity. And when scientists pointed the most powerful eye humanity has ever built, the James Webb Space Telescope, toward it, the data came back with a verdict more terrifying than anyone expected. This was no comet. This was something else, something artificial, and something that may have come here not by accident but by design. When 3I Atlas was first identified, astronomers assumed it was merely the third interstellar object we've ever detected. A statistical rarity, but not impossible. Yet almost immediately, predictive orbital models failed to keep up. The object's path began deviating, slightly at first, then significantly, beyond what solar radiation pressure could explain. Comets typically follow parabolic or hyperbolic trajectories dictated by the sun's pull. But 3I Atlas moved as though it was making course corrections, tiny shifts in angle and speed, sometimes against the expected vector, as if being controlled, not pushed. The James Webb Space Telescope, orbiting 1,000,000 miles from Earth, at the L2 point, was quickly tasked with observing the object. What it saw contradicted every natural explanation. The infrared signature did not match a dirty snowball or metallic asteroid. Instead, it revealed surface patterns, geometrically spaced bands of reflectivity and thermal activity that appeared modular, almost like paneling, not jagged like a rock, but structured like a machine. And then came the most damning data of all. A faint pulse, not optical, not thermal, but electromagnetic, was detected coming from its core, repeating in intervals too precise to be natural. 3I Atlas wasn't wandering. It was navigating. Traditional comets, even interstellar ones, tend to be composed of frozen volatiles, water, methane, carbon dioxide, surrounding a nucleus of rock or metal. But Webb's spectroscopic analysis showed a chemical profile that defied every expectation. The surface of 3I Atlas showed a complete lack of volatiles. No ice, no carbon signatures, no sublimation tail. And yet it glowed, not from heat, not from sunlight, but from within. A low-energy emission consistent with photonic resonance, the kind produced when controlled light passes through synthetic crystal lattices, materials that don't occur in nature, materials that would have to be engineered. Furthermore, the spectral lines indicated trace elements not commonly found in our solar system. Some were entirely unknown. Others resembled stable isotopes of metals that should decay rapidly, and yet here they were, intact. This wasn't a comet. It wasn't even a rock. It was a construct forged in an environment far different from ours, owned by processes we don't yet understand. And that revelation sent a chill through the scientific community. If someone built this object, why send it here? One of the most unnerving revelations came not from what 3I Atlas was, but where it was going. At first, astronomers believed it would pass harmlessly through the solar system, flung on a wide arc like its predecessors. But soon the curve began tightening. The object wasn't bypassing the inner planets. It was spiraling inward, following a trajectory that would bring it perilously close to the sun, skimming the corona, at a depth no natural body should survive. And yet, the closer it got to the sun, the more stable it became. Instead of vaporizing, it intensified its glow. Instruments aboard Webb registered a resonance echo, as if the object wasn't avoiding the sun's energy. It was interacting with it, absorbing it, sinking into it. It wasn't just passing through, it was using the sun as a node, perhaps as a power source, or even a beacon to relay information. Think of it as a probe tapping into a galactic Wi-Fi, riding the strongest signal in our system. And if it was communicating, then someone, somewhere, might have just received the signal. Then it happened. A narrowband burst detected simultaneously by two independent deep space radio arrays in Australia and Chile, lasting only 4.2 seconds. It bore no resemblance to any solar activity or background noise. Instead, it was encoded, not just modulated, encoded. And inside that burst, linguists and mathematicians found something that stunned them: a prime number sequence wrapped around a golden ratio spiral. This was not noise. It was a message. Not one we could translate, at least not yet, but a mathematical fingerprint proving intent. Webb, while not designed to capture radio waves, had its infrared sensor pointed directly at 3I Atlas at the time of the burst. And it recorded something even more bizarre: a temperature spike followed by a sudden drop, as if the object had released a surge of internal energy and then gone dormant. Since then, 3I Atlas has gone dark. No tail, no light, no signals, just silence, like a beacon that sent out its one message and then shut itself off. But the implications remain. James Webb has confirmed what we feared. This was no comet. It was a probe, and it may have just completed its mission. As 3I Atlas approached its perihelion, the closest point to the Sun, astronomers expected it to break apart under the pressure and temperature. But instead of disintegrating like every other object of similar size and mass, it reorganized. The Webb telescope detected a subtle change in its reflectivity, as if the object's external surface had begun to shift orientation, forming a symmetrical geometry that bore resemblance to no natural structure ever recorded. Hexagonal panels rotated into perfect alignment, and for a brief moment, the object's silhouette resembled a truncated tetrahedron, a geometric shape associated not only with advanced mathematics, but also with stability in architectural design. This wasn't erosion. This was intentional realignment. It was as if 3I Atlas had a second form, one that activated only under solar influence, revealing a complexity that went far beyond passive observation. It wasn't just a machine. It was a machine with adaptive intelligence, and if it could adapt, then it could also learn, which begged the question, what has it already learned about us? In the weeks following the pulse detected from 3I Atlas, an unexpected side effect was reported. Several laboratories around the globe, including those not directly related to astrophysics, began documenting unusual anomalies in quantum resonance experiments and biological studies. At first, the events seemed unconnected: minor fluctuations in protein expression, shifts in magnetic fields near DNA replication chains, and deviations in expected quantum interference patterns. But when the data was mapped against the timestamp of 3I Atlas's signal burst, a chilling pattern emerged. It coincided perfectly. The object didn't just release a signal into space, it may have triggered a resonance effect within Earth's biosphere. Scientists began re-evaluating archived genetic samples and found micro-oscillations in telomeric length, as if something had pinged our biology, not to alter it, but to measure it, to take a reading. Humanity may have been scanned not by lasers or lenses, but by frequencies so ancient and fundamental that they interact with our very genetic memory. A test not of intellect, but of evolutionary readiness. One of the most disturbing discoveries wasn't what we saw, but what we didn't. After Webb tracked 3I Atlas post-perihelion, it attempted to re-establish visual telemetry. But the object had vanished. Not drifted, not moved behind the Sun, vanished. The exact moment it should have reappeared on the far side, there was nothing. Infrared blind, no heat, no reflection. And yet surrounding the calculated coordinates, instruments recorded a negative space anomaly, a literal drop in background radiation, like the object was absorbing light and heat itself. A void, a shadow without a source, a lens into something, beyond our perception. Quantum physicists theorized it may have folded its trajectory, using the Sun's intense gravitational field to enter a non-linear pathway, something akin to controlled warping. But others proposed something even more radical. 3I Atlas didn't just vanish, it may have entered the observational frame of a different intelligence. In other words, it wasn't for us anymore, it was now transmitting to someone else. Since the object's disappearance, the silence has become deafening. Webb has moved on to other missions, agencies have gone quiet, and the handful of scientists who originally broke protocol to discuss 3i Atlas publicly are no longer giving interviews. One even deleted their entire online presence overnight. The term 3i Atlas has been quietly removed from internal NASA databases and replaced with an encrypted tag. The media has pivoted, and yet the questions remain unanswered. What was the object? Who sent it? What did it measure? And perhaps the most disturbing, did it find what it was looking for? The fact that every major observatory is no longer speaking about it speaks volumes. Because sometimes the most terrifying sound is not the scream of revelation, but the calculated silence of confirmation.